Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
It's about seeking truth. It's about speaking truth. It's about keeping it real. That's what we do at Truth Seeker Nation. We keep it 100. Real talk all the time. Let's get it. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Truth Seeker Nation podcast. My name is Tawana, and I am your host. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that I believe some people may find a bit simplistic. They may even wonder, why are we even talking about this? What's the point? We all know this, but I believe it deserves a place in the conversation. And perhaps by the end of the conversation, you will understand why. We've been building upon this idea of self government versus being governed by other people. Last week, we spoke about consent and how, in order for a government to be established, it requires consent of those who are being governed. We know that we didn't knowingly or willingly give our consent. We were just kind of born here and told to fall in line and do what everybody else is doing. But now we're talking about it. We are at a place where we are analyzing our beliefs. And just like I spoke about last week, when it comes to breaking down beliefs and figuring out how to get out of some of these belief systems that are so deeply ingrained in our psyche, it's important to get back to or remember the original foundational ideas that we know, the things that cannot be disputed. Because once we get to those and we remember what they are, or actually bring them to the forefront of our mind and acknowledge them, then we begin to move from a different space. So that brings me to the topic. I touched on it briefly last week, and it was about children being under the authority of their parents when they live in the parent's home. This is something we all know and internalize. It's not something we need to be convinced of or that we can be swayed from believing. We know that children are under the authority and must submit to their parents when they are in the home. And of course, when I say parents, it doesn't necessarily mean biological. It could be grandparents, somebody could have been adopted, what have you. But I'm going to call it parents and children just for the sake of simplicity, so I don't have to go down the line of all the possibilities of who the adults could be. But no matter who is raising them, we can all agree that it is the adults in the home who are the authority figure, because children are not yet in the place where they can be in control. They still need to be taken care of because they can't take care of themselves. But what happens when they can? When they get old enough to be released from or remove themselves from the authority of their parent. They get to a point where they're able to get out of their parents' home and they have able to have their own space. They become what we call an adult. Once they move out of their parents' home and become self-sufficient and are caring for themselves, this is what is called being autonomous. We've talked about that. This is what it means to be in that position of self-governing. That child becomes autonomous in relation to the parents. So that means they're no longer in a position where they have to submit to their parents' authority. They are now the authority themselves. So at that point, if they've moved out, doing all of that, paying their own bills, if their parents try to come to their house and tell them what to do, what would happen? They would say, respectfully, mom and dad, I'm grown. You can't tell me what to do no more. Well, of course, they might say it a little bit differently, but there would be no question about that. And if the parents did try to question it, they would look foolish because everybody knows that this is how it works. They can't come to your house. Let's just take it back to us right now, right? When you did this with your parents, they wouldn't have been able to come to your house and whoop you, put you on punishment, lock you in a room and tell you you can't go nowhere because you're not following those their rules. Why? Because it's no longer their rules. It would be your rules. You live on your own now. And even though we understand that in relation to our parents, the the individuals who gave us life, who if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here because they were the vessels that were used to get us here. And if we had a good childhood, we would have had loving parents or loving adults who raised us. I hope that for everyone that's listening that you had loving adults that raised you. But even still, despite the fact that you love them and they love you, they still would no longer be in a position of authority over you to the point where they could tell you what to do. But wait. We're still not free though. Even though we don't have to answer to them, we're still not free. We grew up out of our parents' home. And now we are answering to a whole bunch of random people that we don't even know. People that don't love us. They didn't put us here. They didn't give us the breath we're breathing. They didn't give us all of the magnificent things on the earth, like the sun and the food and the water. They didn't do any of that. But yet, somehow, we have to listen to them now despite the fact that we got away from our parents and became autonomous. Now, what happened? We got reverted back. We had to resubmit to some other people. This is insanity. This is not how we are supposed to be operating. You can see it based on the foundational principle that we just talked about. There is no way that this is natural, that this is going according to nature, that we as children become adults and we're released from the authority of our parents and we become our own authority, and then we're forced again to submit to authority. Now, it would be different if we willingly chose this, right? If we said when we became adults, we said, "You know what? I think I'm going to go down to that office and fill out that paperwork to submit to the, being governed by other people. I'm going to sign that contract cuz I really feel like doing this is a great thing. I want to submit and be governed by other people." If we did that, it would make sense. But that is not what is going on, is it? We are made to believe that this is something we must do. How is that possible? That this is something we must do. Where did this ideology come from? There has to be somewhere that this stems from. And of course, in this system that we've all been bred into, the schools definitely kind of made us have this feeling about the government and what we were supposed to do. We knew we needed to submit to the government. I mean, we were kind of taught about all of that. We would have seen cartoons growing up as well that would have put that thought into our mind. Everyone around us would have been doing this as well, right? And then, of course, there is the Bible and religion that hint at that as well. Actually, something interesting, I decided to Google something. I can't remember exactly the search that I put in, but I think it was something about why do we need to submit to the government? And I was thinking that it was going to have something. I don't know what I thought or what I expected to see. But the only things that showed up was scriptures in from the Bibles. Romans chapter 13 talking about submitting to the government, and there was like blogs and articles from churches or ministers or preachers or whatever talking about why God wants us to submit to the government. I'm like, this is crazy. So I know that a big part of that is the Bible and what people believe they should be doing in relation to that whole concept and God and all of that. But just looking at it for what it is, logically, you can see that this is not a natural progression of how things should have been moving. You can see that it is just this system that kind of gets in the middle of what should have happened. We came out of from our parents, became that authority figure, and that should have continued on. We should have stayed in the position of being able to um, do for ourselves, dictate for our own lives. That should have been what would have happened. But this system is already here, right? And so that is why we are, again, talking about this because it is important to start to analyze these thoughts and ideas to really see if they make sense, to see if they fit with what is what we are, what we should be doing as a whole, humanity. This is going on everywhere, not just the United States, obviously. And even in history, when you look in history, this is something that people always seem to do, feel like it is necessary to submit to being governed by one another. And when I think about it like that, when I say it like that, when I say governed by one another, it actually makes it feel different than even saying governed by other people. It actually made me think of an example. If I were needing to do something in my life, like reach certain goals, and I needed to have some structure. I might need to write down certain rules for myself or a bullet point, a list of something that I need to do on a regular basis to get to where I'm trying to go. So I could look at that as these are the laws that are governing me or the rules that are governing me in order to be able to get to where I'm going or stay within this structure in order to reach my goal, right? So that's how I was looking at that. And then I was thinking, and if that was the case, I would make up that myself. I would make that list up myself because I'm the one who knows what I'm trying to accomplish. Nobody knows me better than me. I can write those rules and or it's not even I'm not even gonna call them rules, but I would be the one in the best position to be able to decide how I would go about getting to the point of reaching my goal, right? Staying on track of reaching my goal. The only way that I would delegate that to somebody else and have them do it is if I, for some reason, felt like I wasn't capable or I needed some type of specialty or this individual who I might choose to do it for me, if I felt like they were in a better position, maybe they had some training or they had a certain skill set that I didn't have. And so I would look to them to help me to draft this document, right? And then I was thinking, that is not what we have going on, though, right? If it were like that, if the reason why we had other people governing our lives was because they were more skillful, like for some reason they were just maybe this very wise individuals that just knew how to govern society, that they just had some special skill relating to how to do this, and we didn't know how to do this ourselves, so we had to hand over authority to somebody else. If it were like that, then it would make sense, right? But that's not what it's like. These people are just like us. It's not like they have some special training. I mean, this is their jobs, but everybody has jobs. And it's not about degrees because many people have degrees. It isn't about that at all. And so they're not in a better position to be able to govern our lives than we are. They don't have some type of special skill to do this. So it really, if you really look at it for what it is, you can see that it is not normal. We are doing something very abnormal. And again, it makes you ask the question, where did this come from? Why did people start submitting to doing this? Why is it that people have accepted this? And it's not just the fact that we're being governed by other people, it's also the way that we are being governed. These laws that are in place are not just laws that are meant to protect us and keep us secure and help us to live our best lives, meaning that we are put in positions where we other people can't infringe on our free will. Like that is not the only type of laws that are in place. For example, the United States has the most laws in comparison to any other country, which is crazy to me because we're supposed to be a free country, right? That's what they say, but we have the most laws. Like, if you really just think about that, like thinking about when you were a child growing up, if your parents had a lot of rules in place, that would be a strict household. It would be the children whose parents didn't really have that many rules, that were more lenient, that would be more free. Like that child, those children there would have more freedom to do their own thing. So it's just crazy that we've been told we are in a free country, but we have the most laws compared to any other country. It's clear that these laws are meant to keep us contained and to control us, not to help us, not to do anything beyond that. So it is very important that we think about this basic foundation or fundamental principle that we know that we are supposed to be autonomous. We are supposed to be governing ourselves. This system that is in place is not natural. This is something that human beings created. It is not something that we must submit to. So it's time to get out of that type of mindset so that we can be free. And that is all I wanted to speak with you about today. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care.
Wake up.
It's about seeking truth. It's about speaking truth. It's about keeping it real. That's what we do at Truth Seeker Nation. We keep it 100. Real talk all the time. Let's get it.